What's up and welcome to my review of the Battle of FELUCIA Separatist MTT. This set was given set number 75435. It has 976 pieces as well as 12 minifigures, which are definitely some of the highlights of this set. But moving along to the back of the box, you can see our build in full display with its play features displayed at the top, as well as some various scenes set by LEGO. But let's take a look at our minifigures. Now in this set we have 12 minifigures, 10 of which are some variations of a droid, as well as our Commander Bly, as well as Alysa Sakira. Starting off by looking at our droids, we get 6 of them in this set, our normal B1s, and these appear the same as we have seen them in every other set in the past 20 years. Next up, we have our Commando droids, which we get 3 of in this set, in this brand new gunmetal gray coloring, which is pretty controversial, but honestly, I think they look very good, from the printing at the top of the head, with a ton of different detailing, as well as on the eyes. But moving down to the torsos, we have the majority of the printing with some brown accents, the red dot, as well as some black coloring on the main portion of the torso, I think looks great, and then the legs all being the same. And then flipping around to the back, there is no printing, but if we get a side-by-side comparison of this to the older one, well, the older one's definitely a more accurate coloring. I think the gunmetal gray actually looks very good, and while the old one didn't have as much detailing, I still think they're both some great minifigures, and the new one definitely does do it justice in my opinion. However, I understand the controversy. Now our last droid in this set is going to be the pilot droid. Now this is the same one that we saw in the 2024 May 4th gift with purchase, and overall I think it is a great minifigure and a very good improvement from the previous times that we've seen them, although it is just a little bit of change in the printing, but still has that little bit of added detailing, but is still a pretty basic droid, but it definitely gets the job done from LEGO. Now moving on to probably the most exciting minifigure out of this set, being the Phase 2 Commander Bly, and this guy looks very good. Starting off, as we look toward the torso print, we have some very nice detailing here on the belt as well as the main portion of the torso, with the small little bandolier printed on. Now a lot of people a little bit upset in the fact that the actual printing on the middle stripe is incorrect coloring. It should have been that darker color, but I still do think it looks good. It's just unfortunate that we didn't get that as accurate as it could have been. But more unfortunately is definitely the printed waist cape on this minifigure. Other than that though, the printing and the detailing looks great. It's just such a shame when you put a waist cape and it looks so much better on this minifigure when you actually have that physical waist cape, but unfortunately we didn't get one, so it did not look as good. And this becomes even more apparent when you flip it around to the back, and it just does not look right from the back because the printing of the waist cape does not go all the way around, and other than that, the back printing is pretty minimal. And now as we move on to the helmet print for this minifigure, I think it turned out very good. Now there are still these small little gaps that LEGO has been leaving on all of their clone troopers, as they can't really print close to the fin, unfortunately. But looking past that, I think the detailing as well as the printing looks great, with the triangle coming down in that darker kind of orangish color, or more of a brown color, and then with the yellow highlights, it just looks great in my opinion. And I think LEGO definitely cooked when it comes to this helmet print. And then as for the accessories, he has his macro binoculars, but more importantly, he has this brand new plastic pauldron piece, which I think looks really good. It has that nice coloring on it as well, and it doesn't restrict the movement of the minifigure, and it looks great. And I think it is definitely an improvement from the actual cloth pauldrons, because those were just so big and out of proportion to the rest of the minifigure. And overall, I think Commander Bly is a very good minifigure. He does have a couple of flaws, but looking over those, I think it was done very well by LEGO. And lastly, our last minifigure in the lineup here is Alysa Sakira, and I think she turned out very well. Starting off, as we look toward the head, we have that very nice head mold that is pretty much identical to the previous versions that we have seen, but it definitely does look great. Moving on to the torso print, it is very similar to what we have seen before, but it has some nice detailing, and I think it definitely does get the job done. Now we have two different faces here. We have kind of a more calm face, and then we have a bit of a angry or concerned face. And then as we look toward the back, we also have some more detailing, especially on the back of the headdress piece, which does look very good. And then as we move on to the bottom of the legs, we actually have some very nice detailing here, with all of the different printing all comes together very well to make this a great minifigure, and definitely an improvement from the previous realistic version of Alysa Sakira that we have seen. And now moving on to the builds, and I have to say this thing looks a lot better than I thought it was going to. We have a lot of cool details put on throughout, and the overall shaping of this was done very well by LEGO. They use a bunch of different techniques, slopes, as well as technical conversions to make this have a very nice sleek design. And the way that they were able to get this done with all the different slopes and tiling definitely makes this look like a great set, making it one that is great for display as well as having a lot of fun play features. But the overall shaping and design I think was done very well by LEGO, especially when you come to the top, you can see all of these different shapes and techniques that they were able to use with all of the different angles to capture the shape of the MTT, which does have a pretty odd design, but I think it translates into LEGO very well. However, as we move to the back, it definitely looks a little bit unfinished. This is an area that I think definitely could have used some different tiling or detailing, because when in contrast to the rest of the build, definitely looks out of place. Wish that there were a couple of tiles put in there to make it look a little bit better and blend with the rest of the build. We also have a couple of gaps, however, I don't think the gaps are too big of an issue, and it's something that is going to happen when you build this with all of the different panels, so it is something that was inevitable, but I don't think that it takes away from the overall design of this build too much. Now, as we come to the center, we have this beautiful printed piece, which I think adds a ton of detailing, and we also have a couple of stickers throughout this build on the top as well as on the sides with the Separatist logo, and we also have these stud shooters pinned on the sides, which I think were integrated very well to the point where they don't take away from the build and still having the fun added play feature of being able to fire them off. Now, like I was saying earlier, this set consists of a bunch of panels which can actually all be moved up throughout these little clip connections. You can fold them up very easily, and it does reveal a little bit of an interior. We have a small area with blasters for our droids, an area where you can hold your staff, which we'll look at a little bit later, the Technic mechanism on the inside, as well as the actual deployable area where you can deploy your droids. And moving back to the staff area, you can fold this down and it will reveal your staff, which can easily be taken out. This is a very simple build and one that is very similar to the previous ones that we have seen, but it definitely is a nice inclusion and adds a lot of fun playability to this set. You can take your droid and clip them right on, and then you can ride around on the staff, and it definitely adds a lot of more fun to this set than what would have been if it wasn't included. And then when you're done with it, take off your droid and it can slot right back in between these two kind of red alarm pieces, and then you can close it right back up, and I think that this was integrated very well. Now, our next interior space comes at the very top, where you can take off the very top of this ship and then also fold down the sides, revealing your kind of command center. You have a small blaster in the back, as well as a little bit of a computer where you can control the MTT from. And you also have a seat where you are able to place your pilot droid. And while there aren't really any studs here, you kind of just sit him in on the tiled part, and he doesn't stand up too well, but he does fit just fine. And then you can close it right back up, and then you put your top and it connects on the studs, and it does work very well. But now it's time to look at the main play feature of this MTT, which is the actual deployable section in the front to deploy your droids. And this was integrated very well in my opinion. There's this small knob on the back that you twist, and then it will just push out the main section, and it pushes straight through the main kind of doorway, and it has a small chain which is able to pull it back closed once you close it back up. And on the front, we have this nice printed piece which acts as the door, and while it's not attached very well, that's kind of what needs to happen so it can be pushed through, and it will just push it right up above, and then when you go to close, it will close itself behind it, and this small chain piece will pull the bottom and close right before. And I think that this was integrated very well, and if we peel up the panels, you can actually see this full mechanism in on the Technic, which I think looked very cool. And then if you actually spin the knob with it open, you can see how this whole mechanism works, and I think it was integrated very well, and it's very cool that you can actually see how this works. It lets you appreciate the whole Technic mechanism a little bit more, and I just think that this was executed very well from LEGO. Now, moving on to the actual droid carrier part and how you attach your droids, you have this small open studded area where you can attach the stud of the droid, and once you have one on there, you can put all 6 of your droids in, and they will fold right up into the ship, and it allows you to deploy them onto the battlefield. And once you put all of your droids into the MTT is when this set really does come alive. Being able to deploy the droids onto the battlefield just looks so cool, and having this overall feature is definitely great. Now, the biggest complaint that I have seen is that you can't fit more droids, but it was definitely inevitable when it comes to the downsizing of this ship. And as we move our attention back to the front, we have our blasters mounted on either side, and they are actually a lot smaller than I thought they were going to be, but I think they're definitely very accurate, and they do have a 360-degree of motion, and I love how they were integrated into the shaping of the vehicle. And overall, I have to say that the shaping and detailing on the side of the MTT does look very good. Now, we do have these small gaps like I spoke about earlier, as well as the detailing in the background of the set. Definitely does not look too great, but overall, I think it is a great display piece. Now, this is actually a very sturdy build. You can pick it up pretty much from anywhere. Now, I wouldn't pick it up from the very tippy top, as that is a portion that is meant to be removed, but other than that, pretty much anywhere is fair game. game. A very sturdy build, and as we flip to the bottom, we can see all of our different wheels as well as parts of the Technic mechanism, which allow this to move freely on like tables as well as any other flat surface. And it's a very fun play feature, and it actually works very smoothly. It is a very nice one, and it doesn't actually elevate the set too much at all, so it doesn't even look like you have any sorts of wheels under there, and it just definitely makes this a very fun set. Now, overall, I have to say that this is a great set. I think with the minifigures, you get a very large amount of droids, which is definitely good to beef up any droid army. The commando droids definitely being a highlight, as well as having your Commander Bly and Alysa Sakira are definitely some of the highlights of this set. And I think that the build is great. Now, one of the minifigures that I think that was definitely missing was some sort of droid official, maybe like a tactical droid. I think would have made this set a lot better, or a Watts Hambor or anything like that. But unfortunately, was not included in this set. But I think the overall minifigure lineup is very good. Now, yes, a couple of the figs have some flaws. You get a good amount of droids, and well, like we were talking about earlier with a couple of the flaws on the Commander Bly, but I do think the Commando droids and Alysa Sakira are pretty much perfect. And I think that your build here is definitely another thing that you can't really go wrong with. I think the overall design makes it great for a display piece, as well as having some amazing play features make this a very good set. And while this is a very good set, it does come at a pretty high price point. The retail in the US being $159, which is definitely a bit overpriced when looking at this set and what you're actually getting, as well as the piece count. And well, I definitely don't think that this is the biggest culprit of a set being overpriced in 2025. I think it definitely has a lot more value than sets like the Turbo Tank and other ones like that. I do think it would be beneficial to wait for this set to go on sale instead of buying it at that full $160 price tag. I just do not think that it is worth that full price. I do think it's a great set, but I do think that you should wait for this to go on sale before you purchase a copy. However, I do think that it is a great display piece, as well as having some very solid minifigures and some amazing play features, and it definitely is a very good set. I just do not think it is worth that $160 price point. But let me know what you guys think about this set down below in the comment section of this video, if it's one that you'll be picking up or one that you will be holding off on. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay safe. Drew, signing out.